Hello, wonderful mama, and welcome to the Yoga of Motherhood. My name is Sasha Jane, and I'm so happy that you're here. And I love to welcome you into this online circle of belonging. So, before we even get going with this one, there are many things that I hope we can practice together and learn together today. But before we even do that, the most important thing that it is for you to recognize is that you are already doing the Yoga of Motherhood. You're already doing it. That you're doing it every time you care for your baby. You were doing it when you were pregnant, and you literally grew a human being in your body. You're doing it when you get up 6 times a night to feed the baby, when you learn to clothe them, to change the nappies, to do all those amazing things that mamas of new babies do. You're certainly doing it when you're dealing with toddlers, crawling around, discovering the world. My kids love to pick up every little piece of rusty metal they can find. If you bring them to a new environment, they'll come back to you with a handful of rusty metal. And these are the kind of challenges and hazards in environments that you're not even aware of before you become a mother. And then suddenly you're a mother and you're there and you're coping with it all day long. You're doing it when you deal with toddler tantrums or older children's tantrums, when there's the meltdown in the supermarket or at the doctor's. You're doing it when you go back to work and you feel like your heart's ripped in two because you're integrating your child into a new arrangement. You're doing it if you deal with bullying, and you're doing it when you're dealing with the homework and the housework and all the multitude of other things that mothers do every single day. That this is all the yoga of motherhood, and that you're already qualified. You've already made it to the party. I also want to use this moment to explain the default language that I tend to use throughout this session. That the foundation of my work is to serve women who grew up as girls under patriarchy. And by that, I mean women like myself who inherited a very interesting and particular mix of stuff that can affect us greatly when we become mothers. That being said, this work may be relevant to all sorts of folk who may have come to this work for all different kinds of reasons. So if you are the primary carer of a young child and you don't fit neatly into that first group, then you're still very welcome to this session. And I'm very happy to adjust my language as we go through. So just let me know what you need. So what is yoga? As many of you know, the literal translation of yoga means to yoke or to unite. One way of looking at this is that it is to bring together different aspects of ourself. So from a Hindu/yogic perspective, this might be seen as returning to consciousness with a capital C, otherwise known as God or divinity or source, that we are part of that, and that is part of us, and that the practice of yoga are things that bring us home to that. And from a Buddhist perspective, this unity might be viewed as learning to rest our mind in its true nature, which Ram Dass, a yogi who I adore and have loved the work of for a long time, has described as loving awareness. So what I've observed is that motherhood offers us profound opportunities to merge with consciousness and or to realize the true nature of our minds. And in fact, there are many aspects of my multidimensional self that I don't think I could ever have experienced without motherhood. So motherhood is yoga. And if you come away from this workshop with nothing else, I hope that it is that. So now that we are sure of our bona fide status of mothers and yoginis, we can begin to unpack what we are here for today. Now, usually right at the beginning of this session, I will share with mothers to share where they're coming from, their name, the ages of their children or the stage of pregnancy they're in. And since you may be looking at this as a playback, just know you please feel free to send me an email with that information to hello@yogawithsasha.com. I'd still love to hear from you, and you're still part of this circle. So feel free to share a little bit about you or ask any questions as we go through this, and I will respond to you as soon as I can. So we've got 4 objectives today. The first objective is to share with you some essential mama insights. I want to explain to you the top reason that most modern mamas are overwhelmed, overburdened, exhausted, and feeling lost. And that they're feeling all these difficult emotions way more than they need to. And that this is something that we really can change and need to change as a society. The second thing that I want to do with you today is to explore maternal spirituality. A few moments ago, I shared the view that everything that we do as mothers can be viewed as a sort of yoga. So the question is, if we're doing yoga all day long, then why don't we feel great all the time? Well, this whole workshop will hopefully answer that question and give us some ways to remedy some of the challenges that we face. But one of the key challenges that we face relates to the famous question asked by George Berkeley: if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, does it make a sound? If we are practicing a powerful and intense yoga all day long, but we don't know that we're doing that, how can we truly reap its benefits? One of the core aims of this circle is to help you understand why motherhood has particular challenges for mothers who had a serious spiritual and or creative practice before motherhood, and to take some space to explore a new form of spiritual expression that not only can support your journey as a mother, but actually work deeply with it, with the aim that you can approach your yoga of motherhood even more consciously, and therefore amplify the level of presence and love you can embody every single day. The third thing that I would love us to explore today are 3 juicy, nourishing, and game-changing practices to support you and your well-being. These can each be done in as little as 10 minutes, and some even less. So they're things you can squeeze into some of those little moments or windows if that's all that's available to you right now. And the fourth objective today, I'll be spending literally 5 minutes, maybe less, about 3/4 of the way through this session, and I'll share with you how you can continue the adventure with me if this work is resonating with you and supporting you. So with that being said, I would love it if you can just rub your hands along with me. Take a deep breath and place these hands over your own heart. With great respect and love, I honor our hearts, our inner teachers. With great respect and love, I honor our hearts, our inner teachers. That many things may or may not be said today, but it's really, really important that whatever is said, you let your heart guide you. And whatever resonates, you take it and you run with it, mama. And if anything doesn't align with you, then just throw it away. Everything that I say is an invitation and a suggestion. So please feel free to modify it, question it, change it, adapt it so that it works for you and feels good for you. So who am I anyway? Well, my name is Sasha Jane. I'm a mother of 2, and I live on the beautiful Greek island of Corfu most of the time. But I'm also from England in the UK, and I spend a lot of time there too. And I started my practice of yoga and of Buddhism when I was very young. With yoga, I was around 11 years old. And with Buddhism, it wasn't long after that I began to gently explore some Buddhist meditations and practices. I grew up in a very alternative way. My mum is a fantastically alternative woman. We lived in Glastonbury, we lived in Brighton. I used to go to an ashram before school in Glastonbury and meditate before my GCSEs, for example. So it's always been part of my life. Yoga has always been part of my life. It's been my work, and I've had the honor of teaching literally thousands of people yoga, mantra, and meditation worldwide in a blend of different retreats, sessions, and workshops. So it's also my own personal source of comfort in my own practice, my own daily practice. And I didn't realize it really before motherhood, but it is and was a huge part of my identity. And then motherhood came along, which was a whole new challenge. For my own journey, I experienced infertility, that it took us 4 years to conceive my son. And I really thought that I couldn't have children towards the end of that time. And then when he did come along, it was a fantastic miracle, but it was quick on the heels, followed by hyperemesis gravidarum, a really horrible condition that some women experience in pregnancy that is kind of turbo morning sickness. So I was in my bed for 3 months with my son, for 4 months with my daughter, with my bucket, vomiting up to 20 times a day, every day for that entire time, and literally worrying for my own life and the lives of my children, both times round. I could barely hold down water. So that was tough. And I came through it in both pregnancies, but it was not easy. And then this was followed with my son with an emergency birth, that my birth situation did not go as planned. And he ended up having to be resuscitated immediately upon being born. And I also received emergency care immediately after he was born. So it was challenging. With my daughter, it was more idyllic, and she was born in a water birth in a home setting with my best friend as the midwife, the wonderful Sophia Ortiz. But it was not, no birth is easy. I don't think any birth is easy. They can be blissful, they can be flowing, they can be full of grace, they can be orgasmic, they can be terrifying, terrible, and everything in between. But easy is not a word that I often hear relating to birth. And then I'm sure that many of you have experienced challenges in your journey as mothers and your journey even to becoming mothers. So I wonder what kind of situations those of you listening to have listened to, and if any of you can relate to some of my stories. And my guess is, after speaking to many, many mothers, that some of you can, and that even the road to having children is not an easy thing for everybody. And it's a multidimensional thing for all of us. And then once the children arrived, I found myself in the position of having had 2 children in just over 2 years. I was running several businesses, one of which I brought people into my home for retreats and had to care for them, and did all of this with only very limited help from our families. And to be clear here, our families are amazing. I've got an amazing mum. Ben has an amazing mum and dad who have helped us enormously, but they live in a different country to us. So they can only visit so often or host us so often. So the vast majority of the time, we're on our own. And that my only support was my husband, and his only support was me. So we're there holding together the house, the businesses, and the children, basically on our own most of the time. Which brought me into a phase of unraveling. Each day, by the time that my daughter was, 6 months, 1, basically from the moment she was born, and even before that with my son, every day had become an endless wave of chores that began the minute that I woke up from my broken night's sleep, and it continued until the minute I went to bed. That I felt overwhelmed almost all the time, and I was totally sleep deprived for a number of years. I walked around feeling raw, disheveled, vulnerable, and emotional, and not really knowing who I was anymore. And I wonder if any of you have experienced a similar time in your lives. Perhaps that's what's brought some of you to this very workshop. So I'm guessing some of you know what I'm talking about, because it turns out that I was definitely not alone in this process of unraveling. Statistics found in a small study held by the motherhood app called Peanut found that 79% of mothers felt invisible. And 99% of mothers felt societal pressure to do and be it all. And that's so sad, right? And yet that is the shape of things for many, many mothers. And so despite the fact that I felt this despair, and I've heard this from other women around, I've only really heard it inside the circles that I hold. that we tend to feel alone in it, and that there's no real place in polite society for the very raw and real emotions that mothers face, and very little space and free time for mamas to convey the vastness and the multi-dimensional journey that they're on and process it for themselves, much less share it with another. And it's complex because as the despair can be huge, but there can also be so much love and power and beauty and magic in this special time. And often we feel like we're being bad mums if we recognize anything about our journey of motherhood that isn't ideal for us. So I'm here to say that motherhood is yoga. And yet for me as a yogini, I felt most invisible to my spiritual community. I was unable to bring my children along to classes. I couldn't leave them for long enough to go on intensive retreats. I couldn't get up early enough to do practice as I was too exhausted. And the practices that I wanted to do, they took an hour or half an hour at least. And I just didn't always have that time available to me. And in addition to this, much of the philosophy that I was learning was coming through quite a patriarchal lens. It spoke of renunciation and the samsara and ignorance of worldly life, and was largely being led by monastic men who, through no fault of their own, simply had no clue of the path that I was on as a mother and the potential and possibility in that. So my inability to access my spiritual practices felt like yet another thing that I was failing at. When actually what was failing was that that particular approach to spirituality is not sustainable or supportive to many, many mothers. So what happened next? I discovered a word, and as this happened, I felt like I stepped through a magic mirror, and everything began to make sense. Everything began to feel easier and more joyful every day. And I really realized in my heart that motherhood is yoga. And then I found ways to practice and integrate this every single day. Through this, I began to forge a totally new path for myself. And with this, I found the magic, the peace, the growth, and the fulfillment hidden deep within every single messy, all-consuming, often tiring, and ultimately very beautiful moment of my life as a mama. So can anyone guess what the word was? The word was matrescence, the natural, all-encompassing, transitional stage of life you enter as you journey from woman to mother. So who here has heard this word before? Maybe it's completely new. It represents a multi-dimensional shift from the archetype of maiden to mother. And this shift can be experienced as a lose-lose situation. As to the extent to which you keep your old life as a maiden going, you will have the guilt and loss of precious experiences as a mother. And the extent to which your life as a mother grows, you will lose and grieve your life as a maiden. So it's an inner split. The good news is that this very inner split is the process that marks a time of huge transformation and power. That the strength, the love, the patience, the surrender, the authenticity, humbleness, generosity, kindness that's born in this time is absolutely remarkable. And its impact on you will be with you long, long after your children are grown. Motherhood is a portal. It's a lost rite of passage. And it's the time that can be the very making of each and every one of us. But because of this, it can also be a very vulnerable time, and it needs proper support. Most of today's mamas weren't raised to think that our value was to raise kids and take care of the house. Unlike our grandmothers or even our mother's generation, we were raised to have it all and to be it all. But the trouble is that no one can have it all and be it all. When we have children to care for, we can't do everything we used to do. We can't be the best mother and lover and worker and friend and daughter and. It's impossible. Sometimes something has to give. In fact, many things have to give. we'll find that a gap forms between the woman and the mother we thought we should be and the woman and the mother that we are. And for me, working with matrescence is about embracing the woman that you are and building a life that supports that woman. So where could you be a little bit kinder to yourself? Here's another great question to reflect upon for a moment. That this inner split we've just been talking about is not our fault. That we're not really prepared for motherhood by our societies. We don't really know what we're getting ourselves into. We're not supported adequately enough by society. We're living in nuclear families where we have to do it all, do it alone, that there's not enough money, time, care, childcare, support, emotional support, any of this for mothers in any country that I know of in the world. It's not good enough. And we're sold this very weird mix of beliefs that on the one hand, we have to be this earth mother who's always there for their child, who's a beautiful attachment parenting, who's feeding them organic food and doing all the right things. And on the other hand, you've got to be a badass. You've got to bounce back. You've got to get back to work. You've got to run a blog and earn 6 figures. And it's a completely unrealistic script that we're given to work with. And so I want to change that script and name it for what it is. And because of this, the first step that we have to take is to find ways that we can be kinder to ourselves. So is there any place in your life that you might benefit from expecting a little bit less of yourself? Where can you let go? What expectations can you drop to give yourself just a little bit more room and dignity to be as you are? And letting go is an endless process, by the way. So this is something that I keep coming back to over and over again. Keep letting go. And where could you be a little bit more grateful to yourself? To recognize all that you're already doing and to recognize all that you already are. Because I guarantee you that you are doing your best. You were doing the best that you could, given the circumstances that were given to you. And you will be doing plenty every single day, I'm sure of it. Because all mamas do. And you might want to write these things down. You don't have to. So each woman's matrescence is unique. For some mamas, the first big wave of intensity is during pregnancy. And for others, it's only after maybe their third child or when their child reaches a certain age that the theme of unraveling begins to hit, or the process of unraveling begins to really hit. The key is to support yourself through this time. And that begins with self-care and self-kindness. Because if we don't do that, if we don't give ourselves support and self-care and self-kindness, we will find ourselves doing more than we've ever done and still not feeling good enough. And I hear so many mothers saying those words that it's absolutely tragic, because you are enough. So I invite you to close your eyes right now and imagine a world where mothers are supported through their matrescence, where they're given the mind, body, and spirit tools they need to undergo this incredible transformation process, and are given the significance, the respect that mothers deserve from the world around them for this profound inner and outer work that they're doing every single day. And I also invite you to imagine what the future of the world would look like if, instead of overwhelmed, overburdened, and lost feeling mamas, we had a world full of empowered, connected, and supported mamas who were busy raising the next generation of human beings with presence and with love. Mothers who were connected to their own power their own kindness, their own strength, and so effortlessly gift this to their children. How might this shape the future of the world? How might this shape the future of this world? I believe that many things in this world could be healed just by that honoring of the mother. So open your eyes if you haven't already. Mothers caring for themselves and for each other is actually a radical political act. And the time for that act is now. And the fact that we're all here today means that it's already happening. So go us. Yes, I came up with a manifesto. I identified 9 things that any spiritual path seeking to include and support mothers, but any path seeking to include and support mothers, must have these principles as foundational aspects. Otherwise, it can't really support mums. And I've made these foundational principles for all the work that I do and everything that I share or do personally for my own well-being. But if it can't meet these things, it's not really serving you as a mother. I'm going to send you this manifesto tomorrow in case any of you are curious to go deeper into this view of maternal spirituality, or you want to use it to inspire your own work somehow, some way. So we're going to go into what is absolutely my favorite practice to give mothers and to give myself. It absolutely saved me after giving birth to my second child, as I'm not somebody who can nap during the day very well. My mind just tends to keep racing, and I would end up lying down for 20 minutes feeling really frustrated that I hadn't tackled one of the millions of things that I needed to do with my time. And I still felt tired and I hadn't slept. And then when I remembered Yoga Nidra, a practice that I'd practiced long, long ago, and started to really take it seriously, it enabled me this process of deep rest that I needed so much, and instilled my days with an entirely new way of being. I was so much less sleep deprived after my second child than I was after my first. And I put that solely down to the power of Yoga Nidra. So what is Yoga Nidra? Yoga Nidra is the yoga of sleep, or the sleep of yoga. And it's a practice where all you have to do is lie down, get comfortable, and listen. So I'm going to invite you to get into your own bed right now. Get somewhere you can still hear my voice, but that you're comfy, that you're warm, that your body is supported. You might want to pause the video while you just get your little Yoga Nidra nest set up, and you're going to set yourself up as if you were going to sleep. And I am going to play an instrument for you as we go through this. And so this sound that you can hear is the sound of an instrument called harmonium. There are many fantastic qualities to this sound that I won't bore you with, but it can help to regulate the nervous system and help us to rest. And as you settle in your Yoga Nidra nest, I invite you just to listen for a moment to the sound of my voice and to the sound of the harmonium. And I'd like you to begin by just becoming aware of your breath. Watching the breath as it travels into your body and as it travels out of your body. And with this awareness of the breath, bring the intention down to your heart as if you were breathing in and out of your heart space, the center of your chest, the Anahata chakra. And as you activate your heart in this way, I invite you to think of a sankalpa. This is an intention to tune into your heart's longing, and then to find a way to name that to yourself. And you can name it to yourself as if it was already happening in the present tense. So it might be, I am gentle and kind with myself. I am grateful for all that I am. I am love. So whatever your sankalpa is, whether it's one of those sentences or something completely different, and just place the seed of that in your heart. And then we're going to begin a gentle practice of just moving the awareness around the body. You don't need to move the body part or do anything at all. Just listen and bring your own loving awareness around your body. Starting with your left toes, your left foot, the ankle, the lower portion of the left leg, the left knee and thigh, connecting all the way up to the hip. And then moving this loving awareness over to the right toes, to the right foot, the ankle, the lower portion of the leg, the right knee and thigh, all the way up to the hip socket of the right leg. Bringing your loving awareness to the pelvic bowl and all of the organs there. To the yoni, the gates of life, to the womb space. Bringing your loving awareness to your womb space and acknowledging all that she is and she does. The deep feminine, bringing your awareness to the sacrum, bringing your awareness to each and every vertebrae of your spine, moving up the curve of the spine to the next curve, to the next curve, connecting all the way up to the skull. Bringing the awareness to the belly and the belly button that once connected you to your own mother. To the solar plexus, to the heart, to the right shoulder, the right arm and the right hand, and each and every fingertip upon your right hand. Back to the heart space, then to the left shoulder and the left arm, and the left hand and each and every fingertip upon the left hand. To the heart, up to the throat, to the voice, to the jaw, to the mouth inside with its teeth and its tongue and its palate, and outside to the lower and upper lip, to the nose, the eyes, the ears, the third eye, the crown of the head, and the entire body, allowing the entire body to be bathed in your own loving awareness, to be bathed in loving awareness. To visualize now, I invite you to visualize now that all around you is light. You can choose whatever color light feels most nourishing to you, from clear light to golden, to pink, red, blue, or green. I invite you to visualize that every time you breathe in, you're drawing this light into your own heart, and through your heart, it's spreading to your whole body. Breathing in this light of loving awareness, and breathing out, letting go. We take a few moments to just continue that practice of breathing in light and letting go. Allowing your visualization to close if it was still going, and bring your awareness back to your breath. The sensations of your breath as it moves in and out of your body, and allowing this to wake you back up and bring you back to a more everyday level of consciousness. And breathing in and breathing out, maybe with a sigh or a sound. This practice of Yoga Nidra is now complete. This practice of Yoga Nidra is now complete, and you are welcome to return to a more everyday awareness. Perhaps you can wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, rub your hands together, place them over your heart, and perhaps blink your eyes open again if they are closed still, and build up your little movements to increase in any way that feels comfortable for you until they make a little bit of a stretch. And with that stretch complete, this practice is truly closed. And we can begin to make our way into our next section of the Yoga of Motherhood. So do drink a little bit of water. Ground yourself however you like to do that. So I hope that you enjoyed that practice of Yoga Nidra. And it's something that you can come back to whenever you feel like you need a rest. And it's said to bring many of the same benefits of sleep, but in much shorter time. And it also is clinically proven to reduce stress and to create a healing response in the body, as it really activates very deeply the parasympathetic aspect of the nervous system and allows the brain waves to do something quite magical, where over time you can practice and really drop into a state that is somewhere in between waking and sleeping. So it's a very deep and effective meditation practice. But instead of getting there through effort, you literally just rest your way into it and just keep that thread of awareness until you find yourself resting in awareness. So it's profound and helpful for many, many reasons. And I'm so grateful that you joined me in this practice today. So were we in our live circle, we would now be going into our sharing circle practice. So this is not something that I'm able to do via recorded means. But what it would look like is this, is to think about your life as a flower and to share upon the blossom, the thing that you feel most grateful for, the thorn. This could be something that is challenging you at the moment or giving you the most challenge or difficulty. And the seed, an intention that you want to plant going forwards in the next section of your life, of your motherhood, of your existence. And so you can do this by journaling it. If you're not able to join in the live circle, then just write the answers down in a journal. And you can also email them to me at hello@yogawithsasha.com. If you would like to write them down, but you want them to be heard by somebody else, then I'm very, very happy to hear that, to read that. So now I'm going to literally spend 5 minutes sharing with you the main ways that you're invited to continue the adventure if you'd like to work with me deeper on any of the things we've touched upon today. So the first way is the Mother's Path program. This is a 5-step program for mamas where we can work deeply with all the principles and tools that we've been experiencing today. We meet live in the circle 5 times, spread over 9 weeks, so you get lots of time in between the sessions to process and integrate and use some juicy bonus resources that I shared with you. In the first session, we meet our fellow mamas and we meet ourselves. We learn the foundational philosophy and practices that will nourish us as we progress through the Mother's Path. In the second session, we look at the 4 women living inside each and every one of us, and we deepen our knowledge of our cyclical nature and leave with some juicy and supportive practices for every phase of who we are. We look at our birth stories in the third session, which is often one of the most profound sessions. We give space to celebrate our victory and to all of our emotions, because every single birth is a victory. And it's a profound rite of passage for every mother and every baby. And so however your child came to you, we give space to tell our stories, to accept and embrace all that transpired in our births, to choose to let go of anything that we might wish to let go of, and to discover and share with each other the empowering lesson that was gifted to us from our unique experience, because no 2 people are alike. No 2 births are alike, and every experience has some very special gifts. In the 4th session, we take a peek at how the world usually views us for what we do, not who we are, but how motherhood is really a state of being. So knowing this, we look at the power of love and all the other core values that uniquely shape us and guide each one of us. And in the 5th session, we host a completion ritual, that we take a look at the journey we've been through together and we chart our clear path forwards, feeling empowered, supported, and having great clarity and understanding on how to live our best mama lives and keep integrating the yoga of motherhood more and more. Now, there's a whole host of bonus resources that you're given if you join the program. You get well-being resources at home, you get a guidebook, you get a welcome session with me, and it's all for the special price of £199. This is an introductory price for this work. I endeavor to make all my prices as accessible as possible, but there are also payment plans and even a few scholarships. So if you feel a call to this work, just let me know and we'll see what we can do. If you wanted to do this work live with me, you can join me in July on the beautiful island of Corfu. We do 2 sessions daily from 9 till 11 a.m. and 5:30 to 7:30. And I chose those time slots so that basically you can go have a beautiful family beach holiday in the gorgeous resort of Arillas. And then there's a very centrally located yoga shala where in the morning we go through the entire Mother's Path program. And in the evenings, we do bonus well-being sessions. So if you would like to join that retreat, it's £299 per person. And I can give you all the information that you need to set up a really beautiful family holiday if you're able to travel with a partner or a mother or a friend or somebody who can support you with the kids while you're in the sessions. There will also be a separate birth preparation workshop that's woven in and linked in the afternoons. So if you are pregnant and you wanted to find out more about that, it's being run with the beautiful midwife, Sophia Ortiz, and I can give you more info on that. So in addition to the Mother's Path and the Yoga of Motherhood retreats, I offer the Lazy Yoga Circle. And this is not mama specific work, but there are regular 2-hour workshops that I do every new moon and every full moon, where you can join, you can explore mantras, yoga, deep rest yoga, nidra, and many other lovely things. And it's just £14 a month. And you also get access to my entire well-being library as part of that membership. And you can cancel anytime. So there's no pressure or no long thing you need to sign up for. And finally, I'm available for private sessions. I offer mindfulness-based coaching programs for mamas. I offer Well Woman yoga therapy to serve many aspects of women's health. And I also offer vocal bliss sessions where you can work with a unique blend of vocal technique, mantra, and holistic voice work to free your voice, nourish yourself and your creativity. And all of my sessions are currently just £49 for an hour. And there are also special packages available. You'll receive all the info that you need about all of that by email. So in the meantime, I thank you so much for listening. And let's head into our final part of this session. I give great thanks to my teacher, Uma Dinismortuli, for creating these tools and sharing them with me. She's also the teacher who taught me the Well Woman Yoga Therapy. And they are linked. And we can begin this practice by first closing our eyes and just becoming aware of the level of your mind. There's been a lot of thoughts, probably, throughout this session, and a lot of mind work. And I invite you to take all those thoughts and all that incredible mind activity. And as you exhale, breathe it into your heart space. We're going to do this 3 times, just breathing from the realm of thoughts and mind and thinking down to the realm of heart and feeling. And we're going to do that one more time from the realm of thoughts and thinking down to the realm of heart and being. And with our hearts activated thusly, we can place one hand, whichever hand you like, and place it over your heart. And you're invited to place your other hand over your womb space. So as you breathe in, I invite you to breathe in to your heart. And then send that loving breath down to your womb space. And then breathe in to your womb space. And bring that wise, loving awareness back up to your heart space. Creating this river of energy between the heart and the womb, continuing in your own time. Deep breath into the heart Loving awareness, sending down to the womb, thanking the womb for all she has done. Breathing into the womb space. And sending this wise awareness up to the heart space. And then we can move the hands into a prayer mudra, open our eyes. And if we like, we can breathe in with the hands in our prayer mudra and breathe out, making this triangle mudra where the fingertips point down, the thumbs are touching over the heart. And then breathing into the heart through this yoni mudra, send it down to the womb. Inhaling, breathing into the heart, making our yoni mudra. Exhaling, sending it down the body lovingly to the womb. And one more time, breathing into the heart. And exhaling down to the womb. And from here, from this place of connection between the heart space and the womb space, I'd like to bring us to a short standing practice to close this session and give us a little bit of energy to move forward. It's a very gentle standing practice. So you're going to stand up with your feet hip distance apart, down on the ground, and feel that connection of your feet upon the floor. Feel your roots grounding down. And from this place of grounding, I'm going to pretend that my hands are my feet because you can't see my feet. And as you inhale, I'm going to lift the toes up. And as you exhale, you're going to place the toes back down. Inhaling, lifting up the toes, and exhaling, dropping them down. And then grounding the feet and the toes planted fully into the ground, feeling as if the energy of the earth was drawn up through your legs, up into your pelvis. The feet are called the wings of the womb, nourishing your womb space. And we're going to activate, move from the earth of the feet to the waters of the womb, of the pelvis. And we can do this by moving in a figure of 8 shape with our hips. You might want to make your legs a bit wider. You might want to bring them closer together. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just finding a figure of 8 and then bringing it in the other direction. Whoop. Figure of 8. Undulating the hips and connecting with warming up and awakening the waters in the pelvis, in this part of the body. And then we're going to move from these flowing waters to the fire of our abdominals. And we're going to do this gently by bending the knees, pushing the bottom back, and then scooping up through the pelvis. Back down, scooping up, gently activating the pelvis, moving very gently. It might be a very tiny circle. If you're on your menstrual bleed, it might be teeny, teeny, tiny. And if you're at a different part in your menstrual cycle and you feel a little bit more energized or a little more time in your at a different part in your life cycle, you might want to make the circle bigger. But you choose and go very, very gently. And then having activated this fire, we're doing a kind of micro version of this practice. Usually if you do this for a couple of minutes, you start to actually feel warm. We move from the fire up to the air. And I want us to move to bring the hips in circles and allowing the arms to move. And as you move your arms, feeling the air around you, maybe touching your hands or your skin, feeling this movement of air. And you might want to use this as a moment to move the shoulders Most mothers' arms and shoulders need an incredible amount of love and care for all the carrying of little people and bags of things that we do. My friend, that's the song Bag Lady by Eric Badu. That made me laugh so much because I am literally a bag lady when I go to the beach or move around now with my 2 kids and all my bags of stuff that they need. So we can roll our shoulders like this to release some of the tension while also connecting with this element of air. And then finally, we're going to move to the element of space. Bring the arms up into the air and then drawing them down to the sides of our bodies. And I don't know if you want to keep an undulation in the hips or just keep the legs firmly rooted. And after this simple yoga practice, we can stand right where we are with the hand upon the heart and the womb again. We can take our deep breaths in and out and allow this practice to close. So I'm going to come to sit down again. So there's very little more for me to say than thank you. Thank you for your presence, for your time, for making it this far. It's a pleasure to share these tools and these insights with you. And if you have any comments or questions, as I've said before, you can message me at hello@yogawithsasha.com. It would be lovely to hear anything that you have to say. I'm so grateful for your... In short, mothers are amazing. You're already doing the yoga of motherhood. And if there's any way that I can support you on that journey, I would love to hear from you. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your day and namaste.